All right, so the biggest rap beef in a generation, Drake versus Kendrick, didn't just stay in the studio. Oh no, it blew up and landed right in the middle of a courtroom. And this isn't just about headlines, you guys. This is a landmark legal battle that could literally redefine the rules of hip hop. So today, we're going to break down this whole high stakes defamation case between Drake, Kendrick, and, get this, their shared record label, Universal Music Group. So picture this. It's October 2025. The first big shot is fired in court, and it's a bombshell. A federal court in New York doesn't just, rule against Drake. It throws out his entire defamation lawsuit over Kendrick's track, Not Like Us. I mean, just like that, poof, the whole case was over. Or so it seemed.
Okay, this decision just leaves you with one massive question, right? How in the world can lyrics accusing someone of being a certified pedophile, I mean, lyrics that serious, that damaging, how can that just be dismissed? How is that legally protected speech? Well, to get our heads around the court's reasoning, we've got to look at how they defined the battlefields itself.
See, the court's entire decision really came down to one critical idea. They didn't look at this and just see a song. Not at all. They saw it as something closer to a sporting event, a lyrical boxing match with its own set of unwritten rules and, more importantly, its own expectations.
Now, we all know this, right? The diss track is a cornerstone of hip-hop. It's this special arena where artists go to war with words, trading lyrical jabs. And what's wild is that the court actually got this. They recognized it. They didn't look at Not Like Us in a vacuum. They saw it for what it was, part of a long, long tradition of competitive rap.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at the actual language the court used. They compared the rap battle to, wait for it, online forums like YouTube or X. Yeah, really. They pointed out these are places known for a freewheeling, anything-goes writing style. So what the judge was basically saying is, look, this is a space where you expect people to exaggerate and talk trash. You're not expecting a fact-checked news report.
Okay, so the court has established the context. It's a lyrical battleground. So how did they legally justify throwing the case out? Well, it all boiled down to one single, really powerful legal concept: opinion.
All right, let's do a quick Law 101 here. For something to be defamation, you have to prove someone made a false statement of fact. And that word fact is everything. Like if I say, man, I think my neighbor is a terrible driver, that's just my opinion. But if I say, my neighbor has crashed his car 5 times this year, and he totally hasn't, that is a statement of fact, and that could be defamation. So there it is. That's the crucial difference. A fact, you can prove it true or false. An opinion? That's all the exaggeration, the insults, the figurative language, stuff you're not really expected to take as gospel. So the whole case hung on this. Which box do Kendrick's lyrics tick? Fact or opinion? And here's what the court decided. They ruled that the lyrics in Not Like Us were, and I'm quoting here, loose, figurative, or hyperbolic. So, in the eyes of the law, that's it. It's legally protected opinion. It's not a statement of fact that you can sue over.
So, to wrap it all up, the judge basically said, hey, because this all went down inside the arena of a rap battle, any reasonable person listening would get that this is just artistic trash talk, not a literal accusation. And with that, boom, case dismissed. But trust me, this was far, far from the end of the story.
Of course, Drake and his team weren't having it. They fired back immediately with an appeal, basically arguing that the judge got the whole context of this thing completely wrong. So let's dig into how they built their counter-argument, because this is where it gets really good. Okay, let's talk about a number. 96 million. Just let that sink in. That is not just a number, my friends. That is a full-on cultural earthquake. That's how many times Not Like Us was streamed in the US in its first week. See, this wasn't just some diss track for the heads. This was a global phenomenon. And that one number, it's the entire foundation of Drake's appeal. So Drake's lawyers came up with this key legal idea: cultural ubiquity. And their whole argument is that the song just got too big. It got so massive, so widespread, that it broke out of that rap battle arena. Suddenly, it wasn't just hip-hop fans listening. It was everyone. Your grandma heard it, your boss heard it, your kids probably heard it, and they had zero context for the beef.
And they didn't stop there. They argued that everything about the song's release was intentional. I mean, from the lyrics themselves to that now infamous cover art with these sex offender icons all over Drake's house. It was all designed, they say, to present an unambiguous matter of fact to the public. They're basically claiming this wasn't art, it was a calculated campaign to brand him as a predator.
And man, a quote from their legal filing really puts the stakes in perspective. They said, "It is hard to imagine a statement more damaging than being labeled a certified pedophile." You know, their point is, damage this severe, this extreme, you can't just write that off as, oh, it's just artistic exaggeration. No way.
So, if you boil it all down, the core of Drake's appeal is this. The reasonable listener the judge talked about. It wasn't some hip-hop head who's been following the beef for years. No, it was the average person hearing a viral hit on the radio or scrolling through TikTok. And Drake's whole argument is that to that person, those lyrics didn't sound like a metaphor. They sounded like a cold, hard fact. So this appeal, it pushes this whole case into completely uncharted territory. We're talking about huge, huge implications here. Not just for Drake and Kendrick, but for the very definition of artistic freedom, for the entire music industry. I mean, seriously, the outcome of this appeal could totally redraw the map for artists and labels. The courts are going to be forced to answer some massive questions, like where exactly is the line between artistic expression and defamation in a genre that's built on trash talk? Is it possible for a diss track to get too successful, so big that the original context just doesn't matter anymore? And whatever the answer is, what are the new rules that everyone in the music biz is going to have to play by? Oh, and if you thought that was complicated, here comes the billion-dollar plot twist. Drake isn't actually suing Kendrick directly. Nope. He's suing Universal Music Group, you know, the parent company that represents both of them. I mean, talk about an explosive conflict of interest. This just adds a whole other crazy layer to this entire legal battle. So, according to Drake's lawsuit, this isn't even just about the rap beef anymore. He's claiming that with his massive contract about to be renegotiated, UMG intentionally pushed Kendrick's track to tank his brand value and get the upper hand in their contract talks. And get this, the filing says UMG actually warned him it would be improvident to sue them. I mean, that's basically a threat, right?
Look, the battle between Drake and Kendrick was without a doubt one of the most exciting moments in modern music. We all lived through it, but when the lawyers take over and the fight moves from the recording booth to the courtroom, it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? In the end, who really wins? The artists? The label? Or is it just the lawyers?